Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, May 19, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see that we have a ridge of high pressure across the northern section of North Atlantic that's sending a lot of easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. And we can see that we still have that tropical wave right there across portion of the eastern main development region. And we can also see that the southwestern Atlantic right there to the east of Florida, to the north of the eastern Caribbean, right there is being dotted with a couple troughs. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images, we can see the clouds associated with those troughs right there to the north of the Greater Antilles, to the north of the eastern Caribbean. Not to mention the clouds associated with that tropical wave right there to the west of Africa that is attached to the clouds that are associated with the intertropical convergence zone right there all the way over into sections of northeastern South America. We'll be talking more about the Caribbean weather later on. Let's focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today. It was stated in yesterday's video that we would have received some amount of morning rainfall across sections of some eastern parishes in Jamaica, and then some of that rainfall would spill into sections of northern and western Jamaica during the afternoon after the daytime heating. And what ended up happening? At 10:31 a.m. a post was made on our Twitter page highlighting some clouds coming into sections of eastern Jamaica. So we might have had some amount of isolated showers across sections of Portland and St. Thomas with these clouds that were coming in the morning hours. And then another post was made at 2:16 p.m. highlighting some clouds across inland areas of some eastern and central parishes, not to mention sections of northern and western parishes in Jamaica. And as the afternoon progressed, these clouds became thunderclouds, where we see them showing their colors up into the upper levels of the atmosphere, not to mention the sparkling white dots that are indicative of some amount of lightning flashes. And this was around 4:05 p.m. And we even had our commenters on our Instagram page confirming the rainfall. Chairlips Mail stating rain in St. Anne. And if we take a look at the latest infrared satellite images, we still have some amount of strong thunderstorms right there across sections of some northern parishes. So sections of Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, maybe even sections of St. Anne getting in on some more rainfall at recording hour right now. And we even have confirmation on the Doppler radar images, which are showing some amount of rainfall with the greens, yellows, and oranges and reds within all of that right there off the coast across the waters right there. So we do indeed have the confirmation of the rainfall on both the satellite images as well as the Doppler radar images. And if we take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours, we can indeed see that we had that morning rainfall across eastern Jamaica in the morning, so St. Mary, Portland, St. Thomas. Then in the afternoon hours, we had those buildup of clouds and rainfall right there across inland areas of some eastern parishes, so northern St. Andrew, southern St. Mary, sections of northern St. Catherine, southern St. Anne, sections of Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, as well as sections of northern St. Elizabeth got in on some amount of afternoon rainfall for today. Taking a look at temperatures for tonight, we can see that we have 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and as usual, as the night progresses, these temperatures should be getting lower. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that both maps have Jamaica embedded in some slight yellow shades, which indicate 1 or maybe even 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know that for the month of May, the average temperatures or the normal temperature should be around 89 degrees Fahrenheit, which on the thermometer is the equivalent of 32 degrees Celsius. So if we should be receiving 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above average temperatures for tomorrow, we should be getting anywhere from 32 to 34 degrees Celsius at most. Taking a look at the dry air map right now, we can see that Jamaica is still embedded in some blue shades that indicate that we have a lot of moist air across the region. The driest air is still right there across the northwestern portions of Africa, and we can see some slight dry air right there across portions of the southern Caribbean, not to mention the Gulf of Mexico and the eastern Caribbean. However, when we take a look at the Saharan air layer forecast, the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Saturday, we can see that majority of the Caribbean, including Jamaica, is in the clear. As a matter of fact, we have a lot of moist air right there, as indicated by all of those green shadings across majority of the Greater Antilles, which is why there's a lot of rain in the forecast for majority of the Greater Antilles at this time, considering that the troughs are taking shape across those spots. Majority of the dust associated with the Sahara Desert is right there across the eastern Mediterranean region as well as sections of Africa. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that for the most part we should be getting anywhere from 1 meter wave heights or less across the island. We see that on both the Euro and the GFS models we have consensus, we have agreement, and that's due to the fact that tomorrow we're going to be having some very weak winds across the island. We don't have the winds coming from any specific direction. If we actually look closely on the Euro, we can see the winds coming in from the north. On the south coast we can see kind of coming in from the north and then twisting around and coming in from the south. It's somewhat of variable winds for the island for tomorrow, and we can see that we have some darker shades of blues across sections of the island from eastern parishes to western parishes. So the chances of afternoon convection for Saturday afternoon is very much high, and we have that upper level support coming in from the west with a slight kind of west northwest kind of kink. So the upper level support would more than likely favor southern parishes in Jamaica. So finally there's some kind of pattern shift from what we've been getting for the past couple of weeks with all of the rainfall across northern Jamaica. So we'll see exactly what unfolds. People on the south coast, Portmore, St. Catherine, Spanish Town, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Kingston, and St. Andrew, St. Thomas, try to get that laundry done early on Saturday so that you're not that drastically affected. We have some rainfall in store for tomorrow, definitely. Taking a look at the precipitation forecast for tomorrow, we can see that 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 12 a.m. Jamaica time. So by midnight, what do we see? We see a lot of blues right there across northern and even western Jamaica. And the blues are indicative of some amount of rainfall, even eastern Jamaica getting in on some of that as well. So we'll see exactly what unfolds with that later on tonight. We have rainfall in the forecast on both maps, and we know that when we have agreement, chances of it actually happening are much higher. Taking a look at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, what do we see? We see that eastern, central, and western Jamaica is embedded in blues that represent rainfall. Where do we have those darker shades of blue? Not to mention some colors. On the Euro, we see a lot of colors right there across sections of Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester. However, we do see a bias across southern Jamaica, just like what we stated with the upper level support. Eastern Jamaica getting in some darker shades of blue as well. But look at the GFS. GFS has the darkest shades of blue right there across sections of Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, so maybe even sections of Old Harbour, Portmore, Kingston, and St. Andrew, maybe even sections of St. Thomas getting in on some of that, if not overcast skies. So we have some amount of consensus, and we do indeed have the agreement on the accumulated precipitation for the next 24 hours as well. So definitely some rainfall will be expected across sections of Jamaica for tomorrow, stretching all the way from east to the western section of the island. And we're indeed grateful for the rainfall that we're going to receive, considering that we're in the secondary rainy season. We're in the month of May, where we usually receive up to 213 millimeters of rainfall during this month. And although we've been lacking across southern Jamaica, we'll take all the rainfall that we can get tomorrow. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see a lot of clouds right there across sections of French Guyana, sections of Suriname, sections of Colombia, Panama, sections of Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, Cuba, portions of Mexico, sections of the Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos gotten some amount of rainfall as well associated with that trough. Taking a look at the northeastern Caribbean, so let's take a closer look at what was happening across the Leeward Islands, sections of Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. Look at Puerto Rico. They got in on some rainfall today. We can see on the Doppler radar image, majority of that island was embedded in rainfall. coming in from the southeast, and they have some more rainfall to receive tomorrow, so there might be some amount of flash flooding taking place. Look at the British and US Virgin Islands, still some passing scattered showers, not to mention majority of the Leeward Islands, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Montserrat getting in on some amount of hit or miss rainfall as well. Even if we take a look at the Barbados radar, look at the amount of rainfall that's passing to the south of the island, some of which might even make it into sections of the island later on tonight, and they've been getting rainfall today as well. Even to the west of Barbados, sections of St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, Grenada getting in on some amount of passing rainfall as well. And if we take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see where we still have some rainfall right there across sections of Florida, Cuba, Mexico, section of Guatemala getting in on some rainfall, that rainfall that we mentioned across section of Colombia, not to mention sections of Guyana getting in on some amount of rainfall as well. If we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can still see that we have some average to slightly below average temperatures for majority of the eastern Caribbean right there, with the warmer temperatures right there across anywhere from Florida southward, so average to slightly above average temperatures are what's expected from Florida, Cuba, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, and everywhere southward below that. So the ABC Islands, Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, sections of Honduras, Guatemala, sections of El Salvador, Belize, all stretching all the way up into Mexico. So we see that we have that below normal temperature coming in right there across sections of Texas. We do indeed see consensus on both the Euro and the GFS malls. I know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that for the most part across the Caribbean region, we're going to be expecting some blues that are indicative of 1.5 meter wave heights or less, and that's due to the fact that the winds that we see on both the Euro and the GFS will be coming in from the east. Nothing robust, no yellows, only 10 to 20 knot winds are what we're expecting. However, taking a look at the rain forecast, look at what the trough is going to be doing. Lots of flash flooding going to be taking place, if not already, across sections of Cuba, the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, Hispaniola, Haiti and the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. As we mentioned, section of Jamaica, but not that robust, but it's definitely coming, especially for southern Jamaica. Sections of the US and British Virgin Islands getting in on some rainfall as well. Guadeloupe, section of the northeastern Caribbean. Look at sections of Grenada, Tobago, Trinidad, section of eastern Venezuela, Guyana, section of western Venezuela, Colombia as usual, Panama, section of Costa Rica, as well as section of coastal areas of Nicaragua and Honduras getting in on some amount of rainfall. I know that when we have consensus on both maps like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. So do take the necessary precautions so that you're not that drastically affected by the possible flood threatening rainfall that's expected. Both maps are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Friday. Not all the rainfall all throughout the next 24 hours, but these are just showing the rainfall totals, and we do see up to 2 inches of rainfall in some spots as well. Taking a look at the western portion of the basin, we can do indeed see that we have some rainfall in store still for portions of Texas, Mexico right there, maybe even sections of, let's say, Guatemala, as well as sections of Belize getting in on some slight rainfall. And we know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.